I have thought.
Pledge.
I have that.
You do?
I don't know how it is. Let's see.
I think I'm pledge.
You do, Landon?
Landon does.
Pretty sure.
Yep. It
So
says it.
we're down on that end.
Yep.
Okay.
Are you okay over there talking?
I'm mumbling to myself.
Right.
Yes.
Let me know when I need to listen.
Stacy Weaver. The Stacy Weaver.
Semi-gluten.
Huh?
Everyone's on semi-gluten.
Really? Is that a thing? I honestly have no.
I didn't see Travis's head. I thought maybe we didn't have
No.
SFCN tonight.
Yeah. Just barely get there.
I was with some of my friends.
Shelly, how did you get this meeting? This by far will be your shortest meeting ever. Something's gonna happen.
New miracle drug. So anyone that has lost a leg, just assume that
Gotcha. Is it shot? How
there's
often?
different. Once a week is Chris.
Oh.
You just give it to yourself.
Is there something? Does it go by another name?
Yes.
Was it like Ozempic or
Yes.
something? Oh, okay.
Ozempic.
Okay. I got you. I wouldn't mind losing another 10 pounds, but I don't get shot.
Like I could do 10 to 15.
Tara.
It's bad enough.
My
No Tara.
doctor, she said,
Like Shelly's. Okay, we got the thumbs up. We'll get going tonight for City Council meeting. Thank you, everybody, for joining us in person and on TV and YouTube around the world. City Council meeting in Spanish Fork, Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024. We'll start it off like we always do with a prayer and motivational message, and then the pledge. Councilman Cardin has our motivational message and prayer.
Thank you, Mayor. I have former Miss Spanish Fork, Ashley Stratton, here to give us the thought and the prayer. So, Ashley, come on up.
Okay, I'll start with the prayer, and then I'll get the message. Our Father in heaven, thank you that we could gather tonight for this City Council meeting, and thank you for our wonderful leaders that we have in this room that make our city function on so many different levels and so many different committees here and presidents of different organizations. Please bless all of them in their work that we can, that they can be inspired to continue to lead this city in wonderful directions and bless the lives of our citizens everywhere. And please bless our citizens as well, that they can feel a part of this community and be blessed where they need it. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
All right, for my motivational message tonight, I just want to invite you to consider two questions for a brief message. And one is, what are the deepest core values that you want to be known for at home and in the workplace? And my second question is, are you practicing that on a regular basis? So I've watched my husband decide what his deepest core values were, and it was one of them that he wanted to be known for was helping others when it was inconvenient. So I watched him help neighbors in windstorms move dirt, and I watched him push people's cars that were broken down off the side of the road. And then one day, this value was really tested. He was driving to work one day during rush hour, and he came to a very busy intersection, and the car directly in front of him, a woman stumbled out of the car, and she was in a tank top, and she was bleeding, and she tried to get into the car next to her, and they locked their doors. And so she ran off to a park strip on the side and out of his view. Then all of a sudden, the car she just got out of in front of him flipped a U-turn and almost hit some pedestrians and crashed into some boulders at the gas station on the corner. Now, there were hundreds of people at this intersection at this time, and the man jumped out of his car with a knife. And my husband, seeing that, immediately jumped out of his car and ran around the back of the car, and he could see the woman in a perfect corridor at this point on the park strip, and the man had caught up to her at that point, and he was stabbing her over and over again in the side. And my husband was in a full sprint at this point, and right before he reached the woman, the man lifted the knife to her neck to slit her throat. And that's right when he reached her, he grabbed the man's arm and tackled her up and over the woman. And he said, I made a tackle that any NFL coach would have been proud of. And he tackled her several feet away, and he was laying on top of this man, and he thought, what just happened? And all of a sudden, he could feel the man squirming underneath him, and he looked down, and the man was trying to cut his own wrists. So at that point, he grabbed his arm. He twisted it behind his hand so hard he thought he dislocated his shoulder, and he grabbed the knife, and my husband threw it. And at that point, other people came to help. Someone knelt on his head, someone grabbed his feet, and someone had called the police during all the commotion. The police came, and they asked my husband to stay on the man while they took care of the woman, so he stayed there for like 10 minutes. They took the woman away in an ambulance, and they arrested the man, and my husband went home after giving a statement. Several weeks later, we got a call from a lawyer and asked if the woman he had saved could contact us. We said yes. She came to our home and told us the whole story. She said the man who attacked her was her husband, and he had choked her out in the shower that morning, and she woke up on a drive somewhere, and he said he was taking her to the hospital. And when she realized she wasn't going to the hospital, she tried to escape the car, and that's when he attacked her. And she also brought us a hand-drawn picture from her 11-year-old son. And at the bottom, it was my husband in a superhero costume. And at the bottom, it said, "Thanks for saving my mom and being my hero." And I asked Rob, my husband, I said, what were you thinking in that moment when you left out of your car and went to that lady? And I said, were you thinking you have a wife and kids at home and you might die doing what you did next? And he said, I didn't think. I just acted. And I have reflected on that statement over and over again. I didn't think. I just acted. And I thought, why did he act? Why was he the one to act? Why did other people lock their doors? Why were there hundreds of people at the intersection and nobody else jumped into action? And the only thing I can come up with is his core values of helping people, no matter the cost, were instilled in him. He had practiced them for a long time so that when they were tested, he didn't have to think. He could just act because it was who he was to the core. So I'd invite you to think, what are my deepest values at home or in the workplace? And am I practicing them on a regular basis so that when they get tested, you don't have to think, you can simply act. So that's my message for tonight. Thank you for having me, Jesse, and for letting me be here. I'm so grateful that we have people like this sitting up on this stand. I know you guys have wonderful core values, and you lead our city, and you don't have to think too hard. You can just simply act and lead our city in the right direction. So I'm a seventh-generation Spanish Fork girl, and I really, really love this city. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, felt like that was more of applause needed after her, after that than spiritual thought. So thank you so much.
She is a public speaker, so she hires out if anybody needs her.
Yeah, very
Ashley
good.
Stratton.
Yeah. Thanks, Ashley.
Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate that message.
So I have a memory of Ashley from many, many years ago, and I've shared this once before, and I'll embarrass her, but she was running for Miss Spanish Fork, and the year was probably 2018, because she's only 25, right? Something like that, right? But I remember one of the very first pageants that I was involved in, Miss Spanish Fork pageants that I was involved in, and she played the piano with such energy. If I remember right, she was all over the keyboard. She kind of danced as you did it, if I recall. And her hands were going everywhere. Is this right? Am I remembering right? It felt like you did, because your hands were you were up and down that whole keyboard, and it was with just some tremendous skills and abilities. And I've always remembered that, just because I remember from the interview she talked about she's, 6'3", and she talked about her stature, but she makes up for that in so many ways. And I remember her saying that back then, and always believing that she's just got some tremendous potential when she was 18 back then. And you're a great resident now.
Amazing.
If we could get a piano in here, would you do it?
I don't know.
Let's load it.
You have to warn me so I can practice a little bit.
I bet we have the video of that, though. Travis, do you think you could get that for us? Travis is all over it. It was awesome. That's a great memory for me.
Thanks, Ashley.
Thanks, Ashley.
Yes.
Thanks, Ashley.
Good. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. Councilman Took is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Please stand and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. Okay, item C under our agenda is follow-up to previous comments. Seth, I don't know if we have anything that...
We had a question raised last council meeting on development in Annie's Acres, and our Public Works Director Chris Thompson has some response for that.
Thank you.
So the concern was with some groundwater drains, some clay tile groundwater drains, which would be quite old. There's not a drainage district in that area, so it's not something that's really regulated or maintained by anyone but the property owners. And we went out there and looked at it. They drain into a ditch, which we are requiring the developer to pipe and keep in service. And as we went up the ditch, we found a head gate that was down on some private property there. We pulled the head gate up, and the ditch started to drain. And we feel like over time that will start draining the field a little bit better. Diane Garcia and her neighbor to the south got a traco, and this ditch extends, into their property, right in between their property, and so they got a backhoe and they cleaned out that ditch, and they found some more drains that were feeding into that were clogged. As they unclogged those started to drain a lot better, and so we think a combination of that and the head gate being pulled will slowly drain out that field appropriately. I talked to Diane. She agrees. She thinks that will solve the problem, and let her know if it starts backing up again to let us know. We'll go check out the pipes or ditches that are in service that those feed into and make sure that they're clear. So it should be taken care of.
So, Chris, when there isn't a drainage district over that area, so it's on the property owners to make sure that it's taken care of, it's mitigated correctly. What do we require maybe from a city standpoint, like when they're doing their plans? Do they have to account for that, or is that something that is just, I don't know, like what does that look like? What does that look like from an engineering standpoint or from a plan standpoint?
So each drainage system will drain a field, if you will, and that's kind of on them. That's their field. But where it drains to, we require development to maintain that or to pipe it or just make sure there's a way for that to drain out continually. So that's kind of how it works. If she came and tore up all her drains tomorrow, that's up to her. We wouldn't prevent her from doing that. It's a private drain, if you will. So,
got it. Thank you.
Any other questions for Chris on this?
Thanks for the report.
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Is that the only follow-up? Okay. Perfect. Takes us to item D, recognition employees of the second quarter. We have some employees here that we're excited to recognize tonight. Mr. Tyler Jacobson.
Yeah, we absolutely have the best employees. If you look around the room today, see if you can spot them. You think you can spot the 3 employees of the quarter? I'll give you a little clue. If you combine wings, water, and a warrant, you can probably pick them out. All right. So, yeah, our employees of the quarter, we're grateful to have Pat Nelson here from our police department. She's our police department secretary. We've got Christian Davis. Actually, he came with his wife, Haley, and their brand new son, 12 days old, Ryle. So this is his first council meeting. He's in for a good life, right?
Long life for him.
And then we've got Paul Taylor here. He's our assistant water division manager. We'll have Corey Slaymaker will come up and share a few things about Pat, and then we'll have Chris Thompson come up and share some things about Christian and Paul.
We'll get Pat up here first.
She's running.
She's running. The reason she's running is because I've told her all day she has to talk. She has to speak. And she's like, are you pulling my leg? I promised her I wasn't. She's really going to talk. So this is how we work at the police department. But anyways, Pat, I just want to read what her nomination was. It says, Pat cares for everyone around her, both at work and in the community. She makes personal connection with everyone she meets. You can always count on Pat to remember your name and ask about your family. She makes you feel seen and important. She is a hard worker and someone you can always rely on. She has a friendly face in the office and an amazing support to her coworkers. She is willing to and eager to help wherever she can. Spanish Fork is truly lucky to have Pat. And I can attest to that because Pat, in our front office, when someone comes in, it may be one of the worst days they're having. But the smile that Pat gives them, the connection that she has, if she don't know you personally, she knows your parents or she knows your grandparents, and she will have that conversation. And she can turn that situation from maybe a bad moment into a positive moment. And so, you know, in just recognition of Pat, we appreciate all that she does. She is the light of our front office, and we appreciate all she does, and she's very deserving of this. So thank you.
Thanks, Corey. Do I really have to talk?
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
you are in trouble tomorrow. Well, I'm grateful for this award or for this opportunity. I'm grateful to have worked for Spanish Fork City for almost 25 years and worked for great people and great councils and mayors that were before you, and I'm grateful for each and every one of you and the things that you do for and on behalf of the city. My days are numbered because I am going to retire in December, so that's kind of exciting. That tells you how old I am, but that's okay.
You're not that old.
Thanks, Shane. I appreciate that. But I am grateful for everything that Spanish Fork City has done. I've born and raised here, and just grateful to have been able to raise my family here, too. So thank you for everything that you do, and thank you for this great city. Thanks.
Thank you, so did you get a new job? That's why you're retiring? He's not going to be home when you retire, is he?
He's still at the ballpark.
Perfect.
That's his hobby. He works
you.
at the ballpark. That's a hobby for him. So,
awesome.
Although he will be home for a couple of months, so that we'll see how that goes. Yeah.
That
Might
be
not fill your
difficult.
spot. You might come back.
Yeah,
You know.
that's right. Exactly. All right.
Thank you, Pat. Well deserved.
All right. Thanks.
It'd be interesting to see the number of young men that, well, I might just cry if I say it like this, though, that think of Pat as their mom. Ooh, that was rough. But it's year after year after year, 9, 10, 12 kids every single year coming through the program that looked at Pat as their mother, as she was their really mean dad, and Pat as the kind of the caregiver of the team. It was always a joint effort, I think. So thank you so much. Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's good. Well deserved.
All right, Chris, get up here.
Okay, Christian, if you can come up. And his baby Ryle.
I think we need to do a Lion King moment where you hold them up and it's like, and if you can sing to it.
How many days old?
God.
12 days old.
He's darling.
Christian, and Haley's here. She just had a baby 12 days ago, so kudos to her. We are so blessed to have Christian at our airport. He's by far the youngest division manager. All the other division managers could probably be his dad, but he has done a fantastic job. And we knew him. He interned with us and did a great job. Went to work for Heber, and then when Chris Child retired, he applied, and we're just really, really grateful to have him. He has done a lot for our airport. The airport's more than doubled in size as far as footprint goes since he's come here, and that is not easy. It's processing all the development applications and all of the agreements and the leases and all of these things. It takes a huge amount of work, and he's done a great job doing that. He's done a great job planning for the airport, and he's done a really good job with Wings and Wheels. And this is a great community event that he's going to talk to us a little bit about in a minute, but he basically doubled it in size in 1 year as far as advertising, getting people to come, and so many more people have been able to enjoy that because of him. Let me tell you, when you get twice as many people as you did the year before, and maybe you didn't plan for twice as many, but still handle it as well as he handled it, it was really, really, really good. One of the things that he's also done that I think is really commendable is the airport used to cost the city $105,000 a year, and he has turned that around to where not only does the airport not cost the city anything, but it has a pretty good revenue that it can build up for improvements and for better quality service, and some of the developments that we have going in right now will really put the Spanish Fork Airport on the map and make it into an incredible facility that the whole community can be proud of, can come and visit, and may even have a restaurant to come and eat and see their airplanes landing and taking off. And what a great addition that will be to the community. And the last thing that he's been working on a lot, and which I'm really excited about, is a museum on behalf of the Candy Bomber, and he's worked with the National Guard to donate property. He's worked with the different organizations to do fundraisers, and boy, if that can happen, it'll probably take a little bit of time. But the location right off the freeway exit, and perhaps having a bomber right there to see as you enter the airport to go to this nice restaurant that I was talking about, it's really going to be a fantastic addition to the community. So really grateful for Christian. Really have enjoyed working with him. Really value his friendship, and it's well deserved.
Thank you. It's great to work in such a positive environment. I have the pleasure of serving as the vice president of the Utah Airport Operators Association. So we work with all the airport managers and airports in Utah, and I'm blown away every day I come to work at how supportive Spanish Fork City is of the airport. So I really appreciate that and really enjoy working in such a great work environment. So thank you for fostering that, City Council members and Mayor, and we'll look forward to the future of the airport.
Thank you, Christian.
Thank you, Christian.
Congratulations, Christian.
Thank you. Well deserved.
Okay, next we have Paul Taylor. And Paul has a lot of family here. We're grateful for all of them coming. What a great group they are. One of the things about Paul is he's been the assistant division manager in the water division since the water division really kind of started as a separate division. Yeah. And with that, there's a lot of responsibility. He's in charge of the budget, which you would think, oh, well, the division manager should be in charge of the budget, but that's not the case in our public works department. We have the assistants in charge of the budget, and then the division manager can work with them to make sure that things are approved and checked in a way that makes sense. I don't know how many fire hydrants we need, and so if the division manager ordered a bunch of fire hydrants and I had to say, yeah, that's how much they should cost and that's how many we need, that would just be what I'd call a rubber stamp, right? There would be no way for me to know. But Paul works so great with John Waters to make sure that the budget's in good order and to make sure that we have a good plan for replacing lines that need to be replaced. And one of the things that I've really appreciated about Paul over the years is he doesn't leave a city project that has to do with water to chance. He is out there making sure that it gets built the way that we need it built, and making sure that his guys can go in and maintain it, and it will be a quality system. And there's just so many instances where we've avoided boil orders, or we avoided a instance where we wouldn't have water, or if one of the things that is really critical for our cities is to make sure they have enough water. And so we probably have the most complex system of making sure we have enough water every year. We get together and Paul lays out how much water he's going to use from each of the water rights and which ones cost the most and which ones cost the least. And we want to use those, which ones we can keep stored for the next year, and which ones, if we don't use them, it's just going to pass through. And you take that and about 50 other factors, probably, about 50 other factors, and you create this plan. And then he is the one responsible to make sure that our water supplies are enough and gets us through the year. And not just, we have a lot of water in Spanish Fork City. We have done well, but he makes sure that we use it in the best possible way. And so, for instance, we have a lot of well rights, right? But the well is like our reservoir. It's like our Deer Creek or Jordanelle. It's our wells underground. And so if we can leave as much water in those wells underground as possible and use up all our surface water and then use those sparingly, then we keep that reservoir full so that when we have a dry year, we can pump out of the ground when we need it. But let's not pump out of the ground when we have plenty of water in the river. And so Paul is the one who does that planning and just makes sure that we take care of that. Anyway, there's a lot of things that Paul does, and just really appreciated working with him. I feel like he is critical to the success of Spanish Fork and the water division, and I get told that all the time from the water division manager as well. So good job, Paul.
Thank you. Well, I didn't plan a speech, but I'll share with a little story that I had today. Made me realize how old I'm becoming. We were talking with a few crew members today, and I turned to our newest guy that we just hired, and I said, "Hey, since you're hired now and HR is not around, how old are you?" And he said, "I'm 29." And I kind of got thinking, and I started here over 30 years ago. I was shoveling horse stalls before he was even born. Anyway, I've enjoyed it every day here. This job gets better and better. I don't know what I'll do when it's time to leave, but it's coming soon. But I appreciate it.
Job,
Thank you,
Paul.
Paul.
Paul also serves as a city councilman in Salem, and so does a lot for his community as well.
Let's get a photo up here of the employees of the quarter and all of the family members who came to see them. So come up here by the podium in front of the council.
I'll hold the baby.
No.
Hold the baby. Yeah. Okay. Oh, if I hold him, I got to keep him all night. Yeah. Cousin.
And let's try to stay as narrow as we can.
That's not narrow, guys. Come on, Taylor kids. Get in there.
Let's see.
Get in there.
Slide down. Slide to the right.
Keep sliding.
That's about as far as we want to go there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. All right, I'll take a few. I'm not going to count. I'm just going to take them. Great. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations,
Way to go,
guys.
Yeah. I'll say this now so I don't have to say it during council comments, but you kids and grandkids ought to be proud of your parents and your grandparents that they're here. These are careers that they've been in the public sector, and the public sector is not for the faint of heart. We hear it sometimes as elected leaders that, oh boy, wouldn't it be nice to work for the city? And all you have to respond to somebody is, well, apply. We got positions, and go work for the city and see how fun it is sometimes on days where people at their worst day are coming down to the PD, or people are angry at the airport for a host of reasons, or what's going on, or there's a sinkhole opened up in a road and it's a water issue, and see how those days are. Everybody's got their own stuff, but I'm telling you what, your parents and your grandparents in some circumstances here, you should be very proud of their service in the public sector. Again, not for the faint of heart. And the contributions, when we got to be here the other night, Councilman Took and I, with 250 plus, I don't know how many we're getting. Are we 300 now? Close. Of city employees. It's one big family. It is one big family. And it's a couple of people that are remarking that they're close to the end of their careers. Well, our careers aren't very long in public service up here as elected officials. And that's the main thing that we'll take with us, too, is getting to interact with such good people. So thank you for your service to Spanish Fork and the community. It's this is just a small honor, but you've got lives of work that go into that, and it's very noticeable. So thank you so much. Appreciate it. Anyone else want to embarrass anybody? Shane, you've already been embarrassed.
Can't cry
Good.
for the
Okay.
other two. So.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks, Coach. Okay, item E on the agenda, we're going to extend to a different council meeting. Pat is not able to join us, so it takes us to item 4 on our agenda, the public comments section of our city council meeting. So this is for anybody that would like to address the mayor and council. Doesn't have to be on the agenda or anything, but please come up and state your name and address the mayor and council if you'd like, and give Shelley your name when you do it, if you could. Seeing none, we'll go out of public comments section to council comments, and we'll start on this end with Councilman Took and work our way down this way, if that's okay.
You bet. Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple things for me this evening, but we'll start with our Chamber of Commerce. We have our President, Kathleen Levitt. As long as you're ready. Are you ready? I just surprise. Okay. Go right ahead. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's good to see you. So, upcoming first, we've got our Chamber of Commerce Noon Networking Luncheon this month is on September 19th at noon. It'll be hosted at the Hampton Inn, and MTech/Custom Fit is going to be sponsoring and educating, so it should be a really good one to attend. As a business owner especially, they're going to be teaching on how to get reimbursements for advanced education, things like that, so that'll be a great one to attend. Then October 10th, 10/10 is our business summit this year. And I don't know if you guys recall, we were awarded a grant at the end of last year for about $70,000 for a two-part project. We were going to do a job fair here in Spanish Fork that's been done in the spring. And then the second part of the project was to elevate this business summit. So it's going to be a completely different project than what we've seen before, and I could not be more excited about it. We were able to bring in some public speakers. I have Dan Clark coming to be one of our keynotes. He's one of the world's top 10 motivational speakers. He's actually in the Hall of Fame. He worked with Oprah, Michael Jordan. He's spoken for the NFL. His accolades just go on and on, so we're going to be having him here. Also, I'm flying in Jeff Butler, who is a multiple TEDx speaker. He's worked with Google, Amazon, other business monsters like that. And he's going to be teaching specifically on how to retain multi-generational employees. So we have a new workforce coming up, and then we also are still trying to employ the current workforce. So there's differences in those. So he's going to be teaching about that. That's one of his specialties. We'll be hearing from our Mr. Mayor Mike Mendenhall as well, so we're honored for that. And also Ashley Stratton will be speaking at that conference. So we are going to be hosting at the Provo Marriott and Convention Center. We've officially outgrown the Oaks for our business summit. Last year we had about 110 in attendance, and we are hoping to definitely grow bigger than that. So we will be at the Provo Hotel and Convention Center. And tickets are on sale now, so they're on pre-sale. So this is something that I've customized to be, of course, catered for business owners, but it's also going to be valuable for individuals, people that have a job or are looking for a job. It's going to cover quite a range. So please invite your friends, your family, residents. I really, truly believe that this would be of value to just about anyone. So I'm excited to see everyone there. A couple other things. Farmers Market is still going on every single Saturday from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's located at 775 West Center Street. Peaches are ready. So our fruit's starting to come in, which is really exciting. Whitney told me this Saturday was the busiest one that we've had this season, which was surprising because of the holiday weekend, but everyone came down to the Farmers Market, which was excellent. Also coming up soon, Trick or Treat on Main Street is going to be on October 26th this year, the Saturday prior to Halloween. And our applications for the Main Street Scarecrow Contest should be going up in about a week. So we're getting geared up for that as well. So that's what I've got for you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathleen.
Thank you, Kathleen. I have been to the farmers market twice so far this year, and the McMillan peaches are ready to go. We've purchased 2 boxes, gone through 2 boxes, and they're absolutely incredible this early. And so, but thank you, Kathleen, to you and Whitney for all you do to keep the chamber running so well and growing, and we sure appreciate it. So I just have 3 more quick items this evening. First off, the mayor mentioned the Spanish Fork Employee Banquet that we were able to attend this last week, and this was the first opportunity for me to spend the evening with so many of you in this room and your families, and many who are not in this room right now. And it was just really a special experience for me to go and to spend the night with so many amazing people that keep this city running and do such a great job at it. And to recognize them it was just, for lack of a better word, special, and I really enjoyed it. So thank you to all those who are here and for all you do and to make Spanish Fork the best. Also, I had a unique opportunity this week on the Spanish Fork Oaks Golf Course. I met 2 Orem police officers who they just thought it was fantastic that I was involved with the city, and they said, we wish we worked for Spanish Fork Police Department, and they said you guys compensate and take care of your officers so well, and they just had so many great things to say, and I just thought it was an honor to be a part of that conversation and to hear. And this is just one example of one division here in the city, but it made me proud. So to represent Spanish Fork and to hear other officers from other places around the valley that would love to work here, and like the mayor said, we have opportunities, jobs to come. So come and join our team. The last thing I wanted to mention, and I know Pat Nelson, but I wanted to say just one thing. Maybe you should watch us on YouTube. Congrats again to Christian, Paul, and Pat for being employees of the month. But months ago, earlier this year, when I was a new city councilman, one Saturday morning I was aimlessly walking around the dugout just down the street here, buying some snacks with my kids, and someone grabbed me, and I turned around, and it was Pat Nelson, and I'll never forget this little conversation, but she just had such sweet words of, complimentary things to say, but also advice and direction, and she definitely is able to give that. And anyway, super special moment for me from her. And so seeing these individuals recognized, this evening is no surprise to me because they're all remarkable in their own unique way. And that's all I've got, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Took. Appreciate that. Councilman Cardin.
Thank you, Mayor. Jack, the first one we'll pull up is the garden picture, if you can. One of the committees I get to attend with is the Rotary Club, and today we were able to go down to the community garden. So it's kind of fitting after talking about the farmers market. If you haven't been down to the farmers market, just right adjacent to the public safety building is a little area, and it's a garden. This garden has been put on by a lot of volunteers, a lot of volunteer money. The city helps volunteer or support with some land and then also some water, but then there's a lot of other businesses and communities that come together to support this venture. Some cool things about this, there's 40 private beds in here, so families that either they don't have the property, maybe they don't know how to make a garden bed, are able to rent the garden bed, and they do have a waiting list for that. But then also kind of in the area that they're at, in this middle area, there's some library programming that happens there. They do some story time, but then they can also plant and get their fingers dirty or try to pick some tomatoes at some point. They probably more eat the tomatoes than pick them, but there's that. And then on the far right side, they have, I think it's 5 beds that they've dedicated to Tabitha's Way. So on Tuesday evenings, they go down and they harvest for Tabitha's Way, because that's the nights that Tabitha's Way has people there. But they didn't have an amount, but they've basically used all of the bed space there and given it to Tabitha's Way for those in need. And they've said it's been very needed this year. And just thankful for those in our community, one, that have donated time and effort to making this happen, but then also just those that are helping others to learn a skill such as this gardening. If you don't know, the Rotarians in the community, that's what they do, is they serve, and so I'm grateful to be able to serve with them and to get to participate with them in events like this. The second thing that I wanted to talk about tonight is we have an event happening this Saturday with Harvest Moon Hurrah, and I asked an expert to come and talk about Harvest Moon Hurrah because that is not me. So Matt Gilbert, will you come on up and tell us a little bit about what's going on Saturday?
Thank you for inviting me. I'm Matt Gilbert, if any of you don't know who I am, but yeah. So this year's Harvest Moon Hurrah, it's going to be this Saturday, September 7th. There will be things going on from 11 all the way until 6:30 at night this year. Earlier in the morning, around 11 o'clock, we will have artist booths that will be there. There's a couple that will be selling things, but also there will be people demonstrating the type of art that they do. One thing that is our goal with the Harvest Moon in the future is we are trying to find a way to reach out more into the community to get a variety of different people interested in arts. A lot of times when we think of the arts, we just think of music, theater, and painting. And there are a lot of things in our community that are part of creativity and culture that have made our community richer. And I think we want to celebrate some of those as well. And so we'll start to see some of those other things coming in. We also want to invite the whole community to come and to participate, and businesses to kind of look at it. And I think as soon as this one's over, we would love community input on how to make this something that will grow and even be better in the future. Music will start at noon, as well as children's activities, and they will go on until 3 o'clock. And then our main bands will be playing and going until 6:30. We are headlining Michaela Page this year. She is an American Idol contestant, and we're happy to have her. We also have several other people with community connections and just excellent music that is absolutely worth coming. Last year we got a lot of rain that kind of killed a lot of the crowd. But honestly, the bands even last year that were playing, while listening to them, you knew that they could be big at some point. And that's really who we're bringing in, is high quality talent that everyone would enjoy. So if anybody has input or anything like that, please come. I'd love to see everyone here, there, and anybody from the community that's willing to come in. And if you would like to participate, again, Matt Gilbert, and I'm usually pretty easy to find. So, thanks.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, just a fun event, a great day to celebrate the arts in our community, but also to enjoy some music and some different things that are going on. There will be some food trucks and different things there as well. So, and then just lastly, Christian will talk about it again here in a second, but just please get your tickets for the Wings and Wheels. It's going to be a great event, but I'll let Christian talk more about that, and that's all I got, Mayor.
Thanks, Councilman Cardin. Councilman Euler.
Just have one thing to share tonight, Mayor. I wanted to make the public aware of this month's lecture series that's being hosted by the Spanish Fork Historic Preservation Commission. So September 16th at 7 p.m. in the Heritage Room just across the hall, we'll have the opportunity to listen to Richard Davis share a little bit of history on the Pioneer Heritage Cemetery. So the old cemetery that we have here in town just on the east side. Richard's got a presentation that he has prepared and will share with the public. So 7 p.m., September 16th. We'd love to see as many people there as possible. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Euler. Councilwoman Beck.
I do not have anything tonight.
Nothing tonight?
No.
Yielding your time to Councilman Marshall.
Yeah, let's see what he's got.
Get ready. I don't have much. So the Utah Transportation Commission, which is a board that's made up of basically citizens across the state. There's 7 of them appointed by the governor. They're responsible for funding UDOT's KIP program, basically. They meet once a month. They met in Provo last month. They take a tour of the area, see all the needs that, from a transportation perspective, that are needed. They meet, and local officials tend to go and say a few words. I had a chance to go there last month, thank them for their work out on Center Street, told them that we can be patient for funding, we'll wait our turn, but don't forget us. Thank them for the new interchange in Springville on the border of Springville and Spanish Fork. I think that's going to be a huge game changer for us. And then put a bug in their ear for a potential trail crossing at the mouth of Spanish Fork Canyon, where we've been talking about that intersection up there, and really made the point of we don't have a grade separated crossing of the trail for the trail along US 6 along the entire corridor, and this would be a perfect place for it. And so just sort of put a bug in the ear. Offered to let them use the building, by the way, next time they're around. So if they give you a call, they may want to come. Good opportunity. They are they're good to be partners with. So that's about all I did over the last couple of weeks. I missed a meeting and showed up to one other meeting. That's about it for me this last couple of weeks. So I'm done.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. we'll be attending Utah League of Cities and Towns conference this week up in Salt Lake, their annual conference. So we'll have more to report after that about colleagues across the state, 249 cities across the state that we get to collaborate with. Manager Seth Perrins is on the board for the league, and so whatever we miss, I'm sure he'll catch us up on. And so we're excited to be at that conference. I thought I'd just make a note of this. You can find this letter online if you'd like, but a fellow elected official in our county and Spanish Fork resident, Commissioner Tom Sakovich, submitted a resignation letter for his position as one of our county commissioners today to the county employees. Just a snippet about it in case you didn't know. It's been completely public about this, but part of his letter says, since receiving my glioblastoma, I think that's how you say that, brain cancer diagnosis earlier this year, I've been deeply grateful for your kindness, prayers, and support as I've continued serving as your commissioner while undergoing medical treatment and recovery. So Commissioner Sakovich has served in the last 3.5 years for Utah County and will step down now and have his role filled. I believe they'll appoint the commissioner that had run to fill that seat at the end of the year. But we wish the Sakovich family our best wishes as he focuses on his health and recovery, and thankful for his service to the county and to his partnership with us here at the city, and wish him and his wife and his extended family the very best as he recovers from that. That's all I have as my council comments. Takes us to item 6, staff reports. Manager Perrins, anything that we have going on here?
I think the only staff report we have is a brief something on the general plan. Is that right, Dave?
Yeah, certainly.
Can you help me out by turning on your mic? Thanks, Dave.
There we go.
There we are.
So I just want to follow up from a conversation we had 2 weeks ago about the public engagement part of the project, which really is the foundation that everything ends up being built upon. So if you'll scroll down just a little bit, Jack, you'll see a document that was added here recently, which is the Spanish Fork Land Use Element Update Community Engagement Summary. So I invite everybody to, at your leisure, review that. Feel free to reach out with any questions. Certainly, if you have any concerns about anything that maybe has been concluded, and I'll touch on some of the takeaways here. I'll be brief, but things that I think absolutely should anticipate seeing incorporated into a draft version of the land use element that'll be available sometime in October. And maybe just to start from that perspective, again, Jack, thanks for your help. If you can go down to page 4, let's start there. So again, I'm going to try to be brief. There's no need to read it tonight, but certainly if anybody has any questions, I'd love to field those. At the end of each section, there's this key takeaways part, and I'm going to go to the bottom part of that, the how it informs the plan, which is really, as I mentioned a moment ago, the most important part of the effort. It's to reach out to a community, and it's to get input from as many distinct stakeholders really as you can. And as a reminder, the effort's been very widespread to get input thus far, and we'll continue to do that. But probably going forward, it'll just be in a couple of very formal ways as public hearings are held in advance of hopefully having something before the council that you're comfortable to adopt. We've met with different groups of residents. We're selected somewhat randomly. We've met with students. We've met with people that we know have a distinct interest in developing the community. We've met with business leaders, and I can go on and on and on. At this point, thousands of people, literally, have provided input on the project in one form or another. Key takeaways from the focus group meetings, as we can see, bottom right-hand part of this page, the focus groups helped us define specific areas where the community is comfortable seeing things change, and areas where people generally don't want to see change. This is pretty fundamental feedback, but essential in terms of shaping how the community potentially could change going forward. The next point listed there kind of builds upon that. Just real quick, Jack. Areas of future growth were defined with the help of the focus groups, and different types of housing types were discussed at length. Moving down to the next thing like that you see, Jack, talking about specifically housing. There we go. Yeah, let's go right there. You can imagine that while the focus of the project is not housing, housing is on everybody's mind today. And truly, I have observed, and the project thus far has validated the idea that people's perception of this community's need for different types of housing really has changed, particularly since COVID, and simply put, the change in housing values in the state that have put the opportunities to own homes out of reach for so many Utahns. The community has never been as ready to embrace different types of housing in certain locations than today. Some of that's anecdotal, that's my interpretation, but the plan certainly supports the idea that in the right location, Spanish Fork residents today are ready to see more dense types of housing constructed than they have been in the past. The idea of limiting development in the river bottoms, that came through loud and clear. Likely, again, no surprise, traffic came up repeatedly relative to housing. Just a couple other things I'll touch on. Try to move a little bit quicker here. There's one specific exercise that we went through. The consultant team calls it the chip game. And this was helpful in terms of, to some degree, empowering people that participated with us to actually put their mark on a map and to say, at this location, I think this makes the most sense, or whatever that might be. The group was done the project, the chip game, was done in groups. So there was certainly an amount of collaboration that happened as different things were put together here. And as I think we can see on the next page, Jack, just again, how this will inform things going forward. This really helped the consultant zero in on something we touched on a couple of weeks ago, these two different growth scenarios that were put together. And of those growth scenarios, there were really 4 areas identified as being potentially acceptable for the community or appropriate for a lot of growth. North Gateway around the new interchange that Councilman Marshall just referenced, area around a Center Street interchange, commuter rail stop may be there. The Salem-Benjamin interchange was also identified, and we talked a little bit about the prospect of, to some degree, adding in a limited way some more intense land uses in the vicinity of Spanish Fork Parkway and US Highway 6. So those 4 different distinct areas there. Those areas, therefore, going forward, would be intended to have a mixture of new types of housing, more intense, more dense housing than what we've seen in the past. I'll comment on that in just a minute. But in a nutshell, that's the result of that. Wrapping up here, our last key takeaways, something of a summary by way of the preferred scenario that really was validated by the last survey that completed just a few weeks ago. That scenario certainly suggests that the draft plan that you'll see here in a few weeks will focus on higher density development at the locations I just mentioned, maybe some slight change out along the Highway 6 corridor, and the idea of preserving open space at appropriate locations also. I didn't talk about that a lot, but that is something that, again, came through loud and clear. When you start asking folks about where they want to see parks and how big parks should be and that sort of a thing, I genuinely feel that unless you're very, very tactful at how you ask the questions, you've kind of baked the answer into asking, because everybody wants to see big parks everywhere. So that certainly will be accounted for, but as appropriate and to some extent in alignment with other plans that we have, our Parks and Recreation Plan, the existing general plan, different things like that. You will see a focus on continuing to make sure that we're planning appropriately for open space going forward. So, sorry it took a little longer than I intended to, but that's a recap of a lot of work. Literally, we're talking about thousands of hours at this point that has been invested into this part of the project. In all honesty, to some extent, the next steps do get quite a bit easier. This is, in different ways, the hard part. It certainly is very satisfying to get out and to talk to people and to be able to take input that's received and see it translated into a final product. But taking this information and putting it into something that holds true with what we've been told, that's also kind of part of the art of it. And we look forward to talking with you about that in a few weeks. In the meantime, like I said, if anybody going through that part of the project, this summary or anything else, has any questions or wants to discuss anything, please let me know.
Thank you, David.
Thanks,
Any
Dave.
questions for Dave on this tonight? Okay. Thanks. Appreciate everybody being involved in those surveys of the general plan so we can get to a point where we're getting to for a presentation of it. We appreciate everyone's involvement. Manager Perrins, anything else on staff reports? Okay, takes us to Spanish Fork 101. Christian double duty tonight with Wings and Wills. Just a small event happening in Spanish Fork. I call it, seems like it's a NASCAR event a little bit, just down the road from here. It's starting to feel like that.
Yeah, yep, it comes
Been
quick
to a
every
NASCAR
year.
event?
I have not, but I have been to this, and it's amazing.
It's pretty good.
Okay, well, I've got a brief presentation and then just a brief ask of city council members and then a gift from our planning committee to remind you of the air show. So here is our custom t-shirt design for the event this year. We do a t-shirt every year and sell them. Just these point out some key features of the event. We've got a vintage B-25 bomber coming to the event that you see on the shirt there, as well as a lot of awesome supercars that come race down our taxiway. And then the event is on September 28th. Some of the key highlights. We have a brand new airshow website, so we encourage you to visit that at SpanishFork.org/airshow. We've got a large vintage warbird lineup consisting of about 15 warbirds, most of which served in World War II or other wars. We've got helicopter rides for sale at the event. We've got warbird rides at the event. And we'll have a 3-hour-long aerobatic air show with about 7 to 8 different performers. We've got food trucks. We've got exotic car racing down our taxiway. We've got an autocross event with an autocross course. And then this year we're introducing a STEM city to the event where we've got a lot of great aviation vendors and businesses that'll be teaching kids and youth about careers and opportunities in aviation. These are some of our notable attractions. We've got a C-47 named What's Up Doc that served in World War II as a troop carrier. We've got a B-25 Made in the Shade that flew about 15 bombing missions over Italy and the Mediterranean theater of the war. We'll have Firewalkers International Pyro back to do our pyrotechnics. They've been a staple of the air show every year. We'll have the United States Air Force Academy Wings of Blue demonstration jump team jump at the opening of the event. And then we'll have a formation flight demonstration team called the San Diego Salute Formation there. So we have 3 asks of anybody here in the meeting and city council members. 1 is mark your calendar and attend the event. 2, volunteer. Volunteer opportunities can be found on the Airshow website. And then promote the event by telling your friends and family and neighbors and coworkers to come to the event and enjoy, the history of aviation, and then teach yourself and your family and your friends about the opportunities in an aviation career. So again, more information can be found at SpanishFork.org/airshow. Any questions?
It's always fun.
Pretty good.
It's awesome.
Good.
Yeah. So volunteers that they get on that website as well can input their information.
Correct.
Tell them they're going to be moving some garbage cans and things like that. I know I saw Councilman Euler down there a couple years in a row now.
Pretty good at moving garbage cans.
Yeah, so your expertise.
I have a question, Christian. Do the volunteers get free admission?
Yes, free admission. They also get a free T-shirt and lunch at the event.
So right there, that's what, $40?
Yeah, at least, probably more.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Thanks, Christian.
I'll hand these out real quick.
Thanks, Christian.
He's handing out a button.
Thank you.
That you push to let off the pyrotechnics. Yeah, that's what this is.
Thanks, sir.
Not the button.
Set that on your desk. I don't know if you want to show people in the room, but that'll just remind you of the airport and what we look like and what we're all about, and that'll remind you to come down to the air show.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Thank you, Christian.
People.
Thank you.
While I got you here, residents are noticing for sure the growth happening there at the Main Street area of the airport, right? You got a lot of construction vehicles going up and down there with the private industry that's I know Chris alluded to it already, but super exciting that you have hundreds of millions of dollars literally in action on the Main Street side of the airport. You speak to the progress of that at all? Looks like things are moving.
Yeah, both developers are underway. I'm sure a lot of the citizens driving Main Street over there have seen that huge reinforced concrete pipe going in for storm drainage. The largest developer, Pady Aviation, is close to having building permits issued and starting to work on foundations and putting up steel for the hangars. And the other developer, Utah Aviation, is working on their dirt work right now to get to that point as well. So, a lot of progress being made. It's great that it's private invested dollars going into the airport, not public funds or airport generated revenue. And it really just is indicative of the growth of Spanish Fork.
That's awesome.
Chris, you weren't excited at all to see the most cavernous ravine covered in Spanish Fork City, right along our Main Street.
Yeah, that was a deep ditch that was not real safe for Main Street drivers, especially in the snow.
And everyone can hear more from Christian on Studio Chatter. We just interviewed him last week, so you have about, 10-minute interview?
Yep.
All things airport.
I thought you were going to say the airport board meetings because those are riveting.
Nope.
You can there, too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you
October.
Absolutely nothing.
First Thursday of October at 4 o'clock.
Yep, you got
Come on
it.
by.
Haley, thanks for lending him to us. Studio Chatter and Wings and Wheels. My gosh. You'll
Busy guy.
Yeah, busy guy. Glad you got things handled at home. So
We're excited, Christian. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Thanks, Christian.
Okay, Wings and Wheels. Awesome event. Takes us to item 8, consent items tonight on the agenda. Any questions about the consent items, item A and B? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent items A and B.
Motion made by Councilman Cardin.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Took. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Consent items are approved. Takes us to item 9, new business, water conservation grant agreement. Mr. Chris Thompson.
So in 2003, Spanish Fork started up the pressurized irrigation system, and ours was a little unique in the state in that we ran a meter to every house, whereas most all the other systems had just a service line to the house with unlimited usage for the same charge. And that was a really big decision to make back then. Wasn't a real popular decision, but it was the right decision. And going forward, the usage in Spanish Fork has not been wasteful since then, and it's been fair. And because of that, we've been able to keep the rates low. We reduced rates 5 different times since then, and we had a situation where we would not run out of water in the middle of a hot year or summer, and where a lot of cities were. And so all of that has combined to being a real benefit to the city. Well, the state a couple of years ago passed a law saying that all the cities needed to follow suit and install meters on their pressurized irrigation for the reasons that I just listed. And we went to the state at that time and said, because they also budgeted a couple $100 million to help these cities to install the meters. And so knowing that all this budget money was going to these other cities to help them get meters, we went to them and said, well, we did the right thing in 2002, 2003 by putting meters in, and we didn't receive any help to do that. Don't penalize us for doing the right thing. Otherwise, it would set a bad precedence in that a city would know that if they waited long enough to make the right decision, then help would come financially. And the legislators listened to that, and they made a provision in this $200 million that if a city already had meters, then there would be up to $2 million that the city could apply for to go towards any project that had water conservation attached to it. And so we applied to line some pipes that go up the canyon and received the $2 million for that project. And this is the grant agreement to give us that $2 million to do this pipelining. It's an old pipe that has had a history of breaks, and we'll all be very relieved when it's completely lined and we won't have to worry about large city-affecting breaks up the canyon from it. So,
I have a question. How do you line a pipe that's already in the ground and in use?
There's a number of ways. It's a good question. But this is a very large pipe. And so there is a type of pipe called HDPE, or high-density polyethylene pipe. It's very thick. It's malleable. You can pull it through. It's very tough. And so the way that we line this pipe is we cut it in sections, and then we fuse together a long enough piece of high-density polyethylene pipe, and we run a cable down the old pipe, grab onto it, and we pull it through, and then we do the next section, and then we fuse the two sections together. And it's nice because you don't have to open trench the whole way, which is very difficult up the canyon with the railroads and the river and the Highway 6 all in the way. It's a nice way to do it. You just have, sections that you open up and then pull it through and fuse it together. So that being said, it's still not easy to do. And so,
difficult.
Yeah, so we've done about half of this pipeline so far. We'll do another third here soon, and then we'll finish it up with the last 20% or so.
Does this about cover it? What we received this grant for?
Yeah. Our capital improvement plan with this grant will be able to complete the project. So.
Awesome.
Good job.
So thank you to previous councils. Made a good decision, like Chris alluded to make a water situation so good for Spanish Fork. I know we get questions about that all the time from residents, especially in dry years. But we've been ahead of that game, led the state really in it, and it's because of those decisions that were made 20 years ago, and now we're getting $2 million for it too. So it's good, really good work.
I was the design engineer on the project, and when I added meters to it, it increased the project $1 million. So that's a good return on our money.
It is. Yeah, it's good. Very good stuff. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. Okay, I would entertain a motion on item A.
I move to approve the water conservation grant agreement.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Euler. Second. Did he beat you?
Nope.
Second by Councilman Marshall. It's a roll call vote here. Councilman Took.
Yes.
Councilman Cardin.
Yes.
Councilman Euler.
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck. And Councilman Marshall.
Yes.
Item A is approved. Takes us to item B, settlement agreement with Rymac LLC. Is that how we say that?
Mayor and Council, this agreement tonight is a culmination of a settlement process that we went through with this developer regarding the Legacy Estates subdivision. We did a mediation and resolved a dispute about the amount of engineering inspection fees that should be paid for that subdivision. So this agreement will resolve that dispute and all claims between the parties. Any questions about that?
Questions for Vaughn on this agreement? Thank you, Vaughn. Okay, if there's no other questions, I'd entertain a motion for item B.
I move to approve the settlement agreement with Rymac LLC.
Motion made by Councilwoman Beck.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Marshall. Roll call vote here. Councilman Euler.
Yes.
Councilman Cardin.
Yes.
Councilman Took.
Yes.
Councilman Marshall.
Yes.
And Councilwoman Beck.
Yes.
Item B is approved. Takes us to 10 on our agenda, meeting rules of order. It says rules. That means it's Vaughn.
Rules automatically mean
He's always the rules guy. It's a good guy to have.
Mayor and Council, you recall you adopted a revised set of rules of order for your meetings earlier this year. With Jack Urquhart's excellent help, we have created a handy reference card for you, and you'll find those in your drawer next to your seat. If you don't mind pulling that out, and we can go over some of these things on the card there. Some of them are obvious and easy, like the quorum. You need 3 voting members. The mayor doesn't get to vote unless there's a tie, generally. But the mayor pro tem may vote. So there you go. Talks about how the agenda is set. But I wanted to cover mostly tonight just how an item would be presented and discussed, and then different motions that a typical motion on an item, and then there's a handful of other motions you might make during the course of a meeting. And so an item begins often, as you've seen and are used to, as a staff introduction, kind of a brief presentation of the staff report or what the item is about. And then if it's a land use item, for example, you'll have an applicant, and they'll get an opportunity to make a presentation as well. And then some items may have experts or consultants. We might, like a bond issuance, for example, we may have a financial advisor here or something like that. And then some items, not all, have public hearings, budget hearings and bond issuance hearings, land use hearings. So those things, you will open a public hearing through a motion, and then we have some rules about allowing people to speak, a 3-minute clock that we traditionally do. If there's a spokesperson for the group, you can allow 5 minutes for that longer time because they represent more than one person. And I think you were very careful in adopting your rules by making sure that all are allowed to speak, and that is a very that's a good quality to have. We want to hear all voices from the community, that anyone that has something to say or add to the discussion. And then you have a motion to close the public hearing. And then once that has happened, it brings it back to the council for further discussion, and you may ask questions of staff, applicants, consultants, even members of the public, if somebody raised something that you have a follow-up question on. Once you've discussed an item fully and everyone feels like they've had their questions answered and you're ready to act on an item, you would make a typical motion. I move to either approve or approve it with conditions, to deny in some cases, or to table if there's further information you need or a certain time needs to pass for something. There could be a number of reasons. Then you make that motion, and I strongly urge that you always make findings for your motion. Often you have a cue, and a staff report will suggest some findings. If you're adopting a resolution or an ordinance, on the front page there's a list of whereas clauses or recitals, and those are reasons for adopting that ordinance or resolution. You may say, I move to approve the resolution based on the findings and the recitals in the resolution. So if you want to just do that shortcut, but also if you identify a new finding that came up during the course of discussion, please add it. We move to approve something because of this issue we just talked about.
Vaughn, if I can add, we routinely do that. For example, in DRC discussions, they'll have the staff report that community development or engineering has prepared and or added to, and we'll talk about something, and it's not uncommon for us to add 1, 2, 3 different findings in addition to whatever was there, and we'll say, we move to approve subject to the findings stated in the staff report, and we'll add those additional findings as we have identified them, right, which adds strength to the motion, right?
And strength, just so for your sake, for the public's sake, sometimes the reviewing court's sake, they know that you've reasoned, you've debated, you're basing your decision on something that's reasonably debatable in the case of a legislative action, or that it's not arbitrary and capricious. You may have heard these phrases before. Or if it's an administrative action, like you don't do much of that anymore. Subdivisions and things are decided at the Planning Commission. I guess you approve a preliminary plat often. And that's based on findings that it complies with our ordinances and our standards. So those are based on evidence in the record that it meets those things. So that's why they're important. Then there's a list of other motions there at the bottom of the page that you may use from time to time. You may amend a motion. Somebody makes a motion and somebody on the council feels it doesn't quite get it right, so you may move to amend that motion to add a clarification or a further refinement of that motion. Sometimes you make a motion and you realize, oh, that's not going to go anywhere. I might just withdraw the motion. So you could move to withdraw the motion. And then as long as the person that seconded that motion agrees, then you can withdraw that motion. You can take a recess or adjourn or go to a closed meeting. We'll talk about that a little bit further. A point of order isn't really a motion. It's just if somebody has a question about the proceedings, the formal process of the meeting, point of order, do we take a vote on that now? You don't need a second, and it's just the mayor makes a decision right then based on that question about order and process. I've only seen this next one once in my career, is to remove a disruptive person, and thankfully that's really rare. But if it is really disturbing the process of the meeting and the decorum, you can make a motion to remove that person. You're required to have 2/3 of the body. So in your case, that's 4 out of 5 voting members. You need to vote in favor of that.
What if one of us is the person?
Then you got 4 out of 5.
We still have 4 out of 5?
That's a good question.
Should we try?
Vote yourself.
Every time.
And then finally, I want to just point out that roll call is required for certain things, but not all things. Every ordinance, every resolution, that's so you get clarity on the record of who voted for those things, and the recorder can mark that really on the ordinance or resolution itself. But also things that create a liability, contracts or things where you we're entering into a purchase contract for property, or you're buying something through a contract, those things require roll call votes. Next page. And this is just a script more than anything else for how to enter into a closed meeting portion of the meeting.
So this part's just on Jesse's, right?
Yeah. So you would literally, you can, like I said, a script, you can read this. I move to adjourn the council meeting to go into a closed meeting for the following purpose. And then you recite which purpose it is, whether it's for strategy discussions to talk about the the purchase or lease of property. And that includes a lot of things like water rights and things like that. Or another reason is for the sale of real property. One that's common is pending or reasonably imminent litigation you expect might happen or is already happening. And then character, professional competence, or physical or mental health of an individual. Sometimes that's necessary, including, I guess number 6 is allegations of criminal misconduct. Security, personnel, devices, or systems. That's talk about the passcodes to get into the building or something, right? You could have a meeting about that. The others, I think, are less likely to be used, although they are authorized by the statute. Loan application, collective bargaining, we don't typically have that. We don't have any organized labor that you're collectively bargaining with. And then, so that requires a motion, a second, and a roll call vote. And then this is maybe something a little bit new, is the statement by the chair of the meeting. The Open and Public Meetings Act requires the chair of the meeting to make a statement that council members A, B, C, and D voted in favor of the motion, whereas council member E voted against it. And then the motion passes or fails, and then the council will go into a closed meeting to discuss. You recite again the purpose of the meeting, and then you also identify the location of the meeting, which most always is going to be next door in the Explorer room of this building.
So it's on your cheat sheet too.
Now I got one.
Yeah, I know it's going to be tough, but I think this will help with the record and being clear that we go into closed meeting for only certain purposes, as you all know already, but this is just a handy reference for you to make those motions. Do you have any questions about any of the procedure of a meeting or the closed meeting? Anything further? We did one motion recently that wasn't on your card. You made a motion to reconsider where an item had been passed on and approved, and then you wanted to recharacterize that and reapprove it for a different reason or with an additional condition, I think it was.
20 years, I haven't heard that one. So it didn't make the list.
Hey.
And then, bam, you do it.
We'll surprise you sometimes.
Yeah.
So that one didn't make the list. Hopefully you don't use it too often anyway, but if you do, I'm here. I can help you. Any other questions?
Thank you, Vaughn. This is helpful.
Very helpful, Don. Yeah, thank you. This will help us run a better and again, I think Vaughn touched on it, but we're trying to, obviously we get friendly up here, and we're friends with people that are coming in and talking to us all the time too, but running a professional meeting about the city's business is important to us, and it should be important to the public as well. So we got a good cheat sheet, and we'll follow it. And when we're out of line not following it, Vaughn's here to let us know. And he's got a cop usually next to him that'll enforce it on us too. So it's good. Thank you. Appreciate that, Vaughn. Okay, that takes us to the item 11 that Jesse, Councilman Cardin's really good at, adjourning closed session, and I'll see if I can follow it up.
I move to adjourn the council meeting to go into a closed meeting for the following purpose: strategy session to discuss the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property, or to discuss a proposed development agreement, proposal, or project proposal, or financing proposal related to the development of land owned by the city.
Motion made by Councilman Cardin.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Took. A roll call vote here. Councilman Cardin.
Yes.
Councilman Euler.
Yes.
Councilwoman Beck.
Yes.
Councilman Marshall.
Yes.
And Councilman Took.
Yes.
Council members Cardin, Euler, Beck.
I think you can say all. It was unanimous. You don't have to get that specific, right? When we have,
I'm halfway through it. Marshall, and Took voted for the motion. No council members voted against the motion. The motion passes, and the council will go into a closed meeting to discuss what Councilman Cardin alluded to, which will be held in the Explorer conference room. Thank you. We are adjourned.
While we laugh about that, there was a ruling not too long ago where, because certain procedures weren't followed, a council
Wouldn't said
some
that way.
closed set. Well, and this is probably where this is coming from, where they said you have to disclose everything you've been talking about, which is really not a smart way to go.
Not
So
strategic
we're
thing.
putting some belts and suspenders on for that.
That's good. Good stuff. Thank you. Thanks again. Thanks for joining us.